Yo! Welcome to another episode of Under the Surface, a talk show where we talk all things Bazaar. With the beta season swiftly approaching its end, let's examine what happened these past few months on the rank ladder, and remember once more all the glorious builds we have experienced. So without further ado, let's dive under the surface. Hello, welcome back. Today we have decided to go down memory lane and examine what has happened during the closed beta period and, see once again what we have experienced in regards to the meta. Maybe you haven't played during closed beta, maybe you have heard about the game just last week or something. We have a list of some really insane builds that were present in the game for the past 6 months or so, and they are sort of in a chronological order, but not really. So if you find any gaps, if you have played during those times, put that in the comments, correct us, and we can learn together. So, when the closed beta hit us and we were all excited, at first people were, like children in the mist. We were running around, having fun. Nobody really paid attention to what we were running. But I had the misfortune or fortune, depending on how you look, to play my first Pygmalion game with the meta build, like the strongest build that was present in the game at that time, which was Skyscraper Pig. Do you remember fondly Skyscraper Pig, Blake?
Yeah, I remember the first 2 days were beautiful. The game was everything we wanted, and then Skyscraper Pig existed, and every day past day 8 was fighting a skyscraper pig.
Yeah.
And then you just died immediately, so you had to play Skyscraper Pig if you wanted to win. So
Yeah.
It was not great.
If you want to see how it went, I have a video on my channel. It was literally my first game of Pig, and I managed to assemble the most meta composition that there was. But yeah, essentially you took Skyscraper, you buffed its value as much as you could. So every 3 or 4 seconds you were getting X thousand of shield, and then you paired it with, for example, a spiky shield or maybe something else, something that dealt damage based on your shield. Or, well, you could have been pacifist, but essentially you were unkillable at that point. But yeah, most people were just running one-shot builds with Skyscraper. However, there was a build that was able to beat Skyscraper Pig. And that was 0 second, delete your opponent build, also known as Crit Dagger Vanessa.
Yeah, that was the one I was playing most of the time because it's so satisfying. Because as soon as anything went off, it would just, the throwing knives back then used to farm. It could farm itself. So if it critted, it would just go again.
Yeah.
So you just did one hit with something, and then throwing knife just goes off infinitely, kills your opponent. And it was beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And there was also this lesser known variation with Blunderbuss. So you used Magma Core to trigger Blunderbuss, which was used whenever you applied burn. So it went off immediately. So it triggered daggers, and daggers affected the Blunderbuss to go off again. And so, you went just guns akimbo and deleted your opponent in 0.1 seconds.
I was gonna say that's the beauty of the first patch. They hadn't actually tried this with a bunch of people, and so immediately there was flaws in the design. You know what I mean? When everybody started testing things that they never could have accounted for that people found in their first match, as Pig, like you did.
Yeah, that's true. And also a lesser known, less prevalent build was Dam Vanessa, and we are using Dam as a animation sort of for the intro, because it's really nice. But yeah, essentially you deleted almost all of your opponent's items, and you usually won during Sandstorm, but it was really hard to assemble actually.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever actually did that one, but I saw Crypt do it multiple times.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to be honest, I have never ever used a dam even once. There are a lot of items, really cool items, which I have never even used once still, and I have been playing this game for almost half a year. So yeah, there's enough content here.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the expanding Bazaar. You never like by the time you use an item you haven't used before, there's new items in the game, new merchants, new everything. So
Yeah, daggers were nerfed, skyscraper was nerfed. So what was next on the menu? And next on the menu was fish. Well, you have to eat right? And yeah, this time it was a puffer fish, which wasn't really that good for your health because it applied thousands of poison.
yeah, I think this time is the time I think back and when I got the most frustrated with the game, when the pufferfish kept coming back and kept being just by far the best item. You hasted it. How did it work? It was haste and it would instantly apply poison on the haste.
Yeah, whenever you
So,
haste poison, and it
yeah.
eat whenever it went off hasted. So yeah, essentially you use like a water wheel or something along those lines. You just as much haste as you can, and then your opponent just died somehow. But also another thing that was sort of usable at that time, and I was playing that mostly, it was double core dually, and it was so easy to assemble that you could like almost force it. That was before the pole was nerfed. Like pole could appear on day 3, I think, and at that time there were like 7 large items dually could find, so like you had over 90% chance to find the combat core, and the rest of the items were easy to assemble. So yeah, it was easy way to 10 wins.
Yeah, that one wasn't as bad as it wasn't as annoying to face as some of the other builds, but and also dual core, double core dually is still like I feel like it's a thing in the game that's like balance actually real like balanced now. So
Yeah,
they did that well. They fixed that one to a
yeah,
good degree, I think.
yeah, it's still usable, but not as broken as it was. I'm not sure. Maybe we're missing something. Maybe there was more during that patch, but I think like Pufferfish Vanessa was like half of the ladder at that point. But then they nerfed Pufferfish, and I think this is when people actually started playing Pig again, and they found out, and I suppose that was mostly Cribs doing because he's like main guy for finding new builds. But yeah, we have discovered that Crook is actually really good, and Square Pig is, thing to do.
It's never went away either. It was actually totally broken in this build, but
Oh yeah,
it's like a signature pig build now.
that's true. That's true. I think Square Pig didn't really change that much since then. The numbers were adjusted, but like in the grand scheme of things, it's mostly the same. But there was also another build that I think people farmed really often. And that was Armadillo Dually. And at that time, it said that whenever you shield, deal damage to the value of that shield. Not your shield, but like the value you shielded for. So yeah, you either put Bunker on your board or maybe Brick Body, which is actually really strong shielding item. Also, Companion Core at that point was still, I think, the strongest core Dually had, because whenever you used a friend, it was charged by 1 second, and it charged all of your friends, but now it only charges your adjacent items. Armadillo was almost like a machine gun with infinite shield.
That was the first time I really got into dually was when those builds were a thing. I kept getting wrecked by them, so I was like, I'm gonna try this, and it was addicting, man. You hit that sandstorm, and it was like every time you hit the sandstorm, you would start shielding constantly, and then your armadillo would just start become a machine gun. It was beautiful.
That's true. Then the Fire Nation attacked because the Christmas patch arrived, and most of the stuff that was present before nerfed, but Tempo decided to introduce a lot of charge mechanics. And I think we all remember Monitor Lizard Dually. RIP to Lizard, to be fair. I understand why it had to be put behind the shed, because it was running away with the game every time.
Man, I have fond memories now of just queuing up and piloting Monitor Lizard for weeks to farm chests.
And it was really easy to assemble. I was so good at piloting Lizard Dually that I was literally just queuing up run after run and just doing Monitor Lizard builds.
Yeah, I was too. I would turn on YouTube or something and just barely pay attention to the game.
Nice. But if you were a Pig player, you weren't really that far behind, because Vineyard was at that time reworked to charge itself whenever you used an item. I don't remember exactly what that item was, but like it was whenever you heal, it did something. What was it? But essentially, you were making a giant engine to accelerate your vignette as quickly as possible. So it went off a couple of times every second. And, you healed to full. You were almost indestructible. And then you also were getting a lot of buffs. I don't remember what it was.
I can't remember either. I didn't play this a lot though, so
Now I'm what was it? Okay, you know what? I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure our viewers remember. So please remind me, what was the win condition in Vignette Pig? Because we've been playing this game for a long time right now, and there were a lot of patches and some things get blurred in our memories. So please remind us, what was the win condition in Vignette Pig? Because I don't think it was pacifist build. No.
I can't remember at all because I chose the other option here, which was the beehive pig when I was playing pig.
Oh, I see.
I'm a beekeeper.
Yeah, I think bees or beehive was worded that whenever your opponent used an item, they were charged, right? So I'm not sure if all of them were charged or only one. I remember that bees were also like machine gun type stuff.
I think it was all of them.
Okay. Yeah, it might have been.
It was beautiful. And bees, they've changed bees a few times since then, but I think generally now they're in a good place. I can't remember exactly what. I think it's
now it
used to be when you
on
use
weapons.
Yeah, it used to be any item, and now it's weapons. Yeah.
There was also like a brief window where blast doors were insanely strong because they said that whenever you were damaged by an item, the blast doors were charged. So yeah, they also went off really frequently. So you could have stacked your shield to the sky, but yeah, they were disabled very, very fast.
Yeah, blast was one of those items too that feels like it gets reworked every couple patches, and it can't really find its place.
True.
So
yeah, on one hand, it feels like it needs to be a pretty big shielding item, but at the same time, whenever it is pretty big shielding item, then it's overused.
Yeah, it originally had like a 15 or 20-second cooldown or something crazy, and it just never went off in a fight.
Right. After Christmas, when Tempo went back to work, they decided to double down, and that was the fabled charge meta. And
oh boy.
Things happened, like I don't think we need to go into the details, but at that time, like Trebuchet Vanessa was, I think, one of the most popular builds. Also Bellelista, I think, was really popular. 3/4 of all items were when you do something, charge it. So yeah, that was when your screen was mostly Christmas lights.
We're almost playing like the completely opposite game from that now because they bonked everything and took all the crazy charge off everything. But man, it was like if you didn't have an infinite loop going by like day 6 or 7 or something, like you probably wasn't gonna go well for you.
Yeah, like Bushel was really popular as a sort of enabler for stuff, because it also charged itself. And I think I don't remember what it was, but I think I had like a Bushel Armadillo build at that time where they both charged itself immediately, because like Bushel at Diamonds charged itself to full, and that Armadillo I had was like reduced to 4 seconds, which it also like used itself almost immediately, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but as Blake said, like if you didn't have 0 cooldown stuff by day 6 or 7, that was time to concede essentially.
The other beautiful thing was like the shield bash skill and all that was super good, and you could get a boulder and just reduce its cooldown a ridiculous amount. I think that was this patch, and just 3 seconds have a boulder to the face to your enemy and win. I did a lot of boulder. I was like trying to force the boulder. It was kind of hard, but man, when you got it, it worked.
Yeah, I guess I was salty every time whenever I encountered like 3-second boulder, because like there was really no counterplay to it.
It was so fun to encounter another 3-second boulder and see who could win. And have 2 boulders going off on the screen at the same time.
Nice. Yeah, we learned that charging wasn't the way. Like this wasn't the avenue to pursue. So Tempo, I think, reworked almost every item. February 5th arrived, and we had a new patch, a new sunrise for the game. I'm not really sure how to put it, but something cuddly sneaked through the cracks. And do you remember what it was? Because maybe not everybody does. Can you remind us?
I think it was a little thing called the Beast of Burden.
It might have been it.
Yeah, and they added all the stuff, all the new tags, I think, in this patch, right? The toy and the tech, and really doubled down on the tag idea. And then Beast of Burden could, for every tag you had, for every item you bought with a new tag, it would like acquire that tag, and then it would have multicast for how many tags it had. So yeah, I don't know why they thought that was balanced the way it worked then, because you could just instantly have a million tags on it and then just sort of chomp away at your enemy.
And I think it had this stacking ability as well, like, because Beast of Burden at least used to stack damage whenever you bought an item. I think that was it.
Oh yeah,
you had like whenever your Beast of Burden went off, that was whenever your opponent died.
And then they immediately hotfixed that out of the game, and we're like, whoops.
That's true. Yeah, so we had Beast of Burden, 1,000 multicast Beast of Burden for only one day. If you weren't playing that day, well, shame on you. You missed a really cool build, because we won't be getting that anytime, like, ever. That was the last time we had a build which was universally the best thing, because since then the game seems to have stabilized a bit. Tempo finally arrived at what works, what doesn't, and well, yeah, we're still getting patch notes, we're still getting reworks or some redesigns, but like, it's nothing as crazy as before that.
Yeah, the games, they had trouble balancing it and sort of finding its vision, and I think it's kind of here now. So generally, and they, like I said, they bonked everything, and that's pretty good. I think that's been a huge positive change to the game.
True. Slowing down all the items, I think, leaves more room for more builds, like more synergies to work with. You don't really need to prioritize low cooldowns as much. In the meantime, like, as we said, we didn't cover all the builds that were present in the game. Like, we just picked our sort of favorites, in the sense that stuff that was most prevalent on the ladder. I think there are some other honorable mentions that happened around that time. I think pretty early on we established as a community that single weapon Vanessa is really strong, whether you use a cutlass or a flagship or maybe submarine. If you have a crow's nest, you pick it and you just do something with it, because getting a lot of crit chance on your weapon and also lifesteal on it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, the weapon changes, that's the best, but the idea of doing single weapon Vanessa has never really been bad as far as I can remember.
Yeah, and also something less common, but you can sometimes encounter it on the ladder, is Dino Dooley. But yeah, eating your opponent's items seems strong. Like, if your opponent doesn't have items, how are they supposed to kill you, right?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite builds in the game, probably, just because of like a lot of builds can delete items, but none of them are a dinosaur eating the other items. It's beautiful.
I mean, there's this sort of terror added that you are, I mean, don't you feel a little bit terrified whenever the items are flipped before the fight and you see, oh no, that's a mama saur. I know where this or like how this ends.
Yeah, and it's even more funny when it's the mama and the baby, because it's like they're buffed by each other, and that's just a funny concept.
That's true. I guess this is not it, because very recently, with all the changes, with new card packs that were introduced, we also got some new cool builds. Like, on the day open beta launched, a lot of people got new card packs for Vanessa, or like card pack for Vanessa. I guess we realized that the depth charge was rather strong, like freezing your opponent's board and also adding 1,000 of burn and poison at the same time is sort of okay for like a day or two before they hotfixed it. I'm going to be honest, I also ran that build a couple of times before it was nerfed. And right now the depth charge isn't probably useful, but also for a very small moment it was better than weather glass, and now it's slightly better. It's like weather glass is slightly better in my opinion.
Yeah, I think like the first 2 days, all the Vanessa items were like way better than everything else, and now they're mostly slightly worse. I think kind of depends on your situation, but yeah, like I see some streamers and stuff playing without the expansion on, which it means pretty clear to me it's probably worse with the expansion on.
Probably they might not be as good as they were. I can accept that. I don't mind. In terms of something stupidly strong that has been a recent addition, they redesigned cargo shorts. Cargo shorts reduced the cooldowns of other items, and they re-enabled Beast of Burden, and for some reason, ship in pants or trousers, depending on where you live, was really strong. So they had to hotfix that out again.
Yeah, that was an interesting. I got one of those builds off. That was a really weird. I don't know. It was a weird concept because it was like every item that was in your stash would, I think it still does this, was in your stash, the tags would be applied to the Beast of Burden, right? And then if something had the apparel tag, the trousers would shorten its cooldown based on how many apparel items you had or something. So it was just like, yeah, okay, so now the Beast of Burden's a clothing item. And then you win.
Exactly, it was your apparel items have -5% cooldown for each type this has. And cargo shorts had also a line of text which said this has the types of items you have in your stash. Essentially, your cargo shorts and your Beast of Burden were on like 2-3 second cooldown. Maybe less. Yeah, people were running that and they had to hotfix that. But something new sort of is emerging now, which is DJ Robot companion called Dooley. And I have tried that and it salvaged my run, which was going straight to the dumpster. So I think if you have a good start, it might actually let you to go to 10 wins. But I would need, to test it more to have a clear-cut opinion on that.
Yeah, those DJ Robot builds are the first one in a while where I've been kind of mad every time I see it because it's just so, it's kind of like you instantly lose to it no matter what you got going on if it's decent, at least in the later days when I was playing.
Yeah, I guess that's it. I'm fairly sure that we have missed something, so if you remember any other like insanely strong builds that were dominating the ladder, please let us know in the comments. Let us reminisce a little bit more. And yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a like, as I said, leave a comment. You may subscribe even, there's a little button right there. Thanks for watching again. So yeah, that's it for today. See you on Blake's channel on Thursday for more under the surface action. So bye.
See ya.
Oh boy, that was a deep see ya.